This lesson we're going to cover slope formula. Okay, so if we notice here we have our slope formula, which it reads m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where m is the notation that we're going to use for slope. Alright, the y2 and the y1, which are located here, and the x2 and x1 are simply just points or coordinates on our coordinates. So x1, y1 would be a coordinate, x2, y2 would be a coordinate or for our ordered pairs. So given two ordered pairs, we should be able to find a slope between them. Let's take a look at an example. Example number 1. We have the coordinate, the ordered pair -2, -4 for A, and B is 2, 4. The steps I want you guys to take: first, always write down your formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That's your first step. A good idea at this point would be to label your coordinates. Okay, so here's your A and B coordinates. I would maybe just label this x1, y1, and x2, y2. And second step would be to plug in. So M equals y2 minus y1. In this case, y2 is 4 minus -4 over x2 minus x1, which is going to be 2 minus -2. Notice the minus sign in the equation or in the formula is separate from the minus sign given by the coordinate. Alright, so first step here, 4 minus -4 can be rewritten as 4 plus 4 over, and 2 minus -2 can be rewritten as 2 plus 2. Solving this, 4 plus 4, we have 8. 2 plus 2, we have 4. 8 over 4, or 8 divided by 4, is 2. So my slope equals 2. Okay, second example. Q gives the ordered pair 1, 0, and R gives the ordered pair 3, 0. Alright, first step as always, write down my formula. Again, a great idea, label your coordinates, x1, y1, x2, y2. Plugging in for our variables, m equals y2 is 0 minus 0 over 3 minus 1. Solving the numerator, 0 minus 0 is 0, 3 minus 1 is 2, and I get an answer of 0 over 2. 0 over anything is always 0, so your slope here is 0, so m equals 0. Example number 3. The coordinate or the ordered pair k gives the coordinates 2, -2, and L gives the coordinates 2, -3. Okay, my first step, I'm going to write down my formula. I'm going to label my units, which will help me when plugging in x2, y2. Alright, and plugging in. M equals y2 minus y1, so in this case it's -3 minus y1, which is -2. Notice I'm using parentheses to help me distinguish between the two. x2 minus x1, which becomes 2 minus 2. Simplifying my numerator, -3 minus -2 is the same thing as saying -3 plus 2 over 2 minus 2. -3 plus 2 is -1 over 0. Okay, here we go. When we see a value, -1 over 0, we are not allowed to have a 0 in our denominator. In this case, this answer would be m is equal to being undefined. Okay, so if 0 is in the denominator, m is undefined. Our slope is undefined. If 0 is in the numerator, as our previous problem, our slope remains as 0. 0 in the numerator, slope is 0. 0 in the denominator, the slope is undefined. Let's take a look at one more example. The coordinate or the ordered pair 8, 2, 2 and -5, 4. Again, first step, write down my formula. I'm going to label my coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2. Second step, plug in. M equals negative 4 minus 2 over negative 5 minus 2. In this case, negative 4 minus 2 gives me an answer of negative 6. Negative 5 minus negative 2 gives me an answer of negative 7. Be careful, make sure you simplify. You have two negatives. A negative divided by a negative becomes a positive, so this becomes an answer of 6 over 7. So m equals 6/7.